Góðan daginn allir og öll. Good morning everybody. Good morning Pius. Good to see you that you're well. You've been having some problems with COVID in the last couple of weeks. Good to see you back.
But I'm recovering, thank you.
Yeah, good to see you and all the people joining us on this webinar. So today we are going to talk about tree planting and how to keep the trees alive. We could proceed to next slide, please. Our object with this webinars, these meetings, is to educate growers both with sustainable growing methods, but also for all growers. And our objective for Verti and Untitled Cure is to supply you with material to do that. Today we will talk about tree planting, the trees and tree planting. We will have a 20-minute presentation by Pius, then questions and answers, and then some introduction to some of the fertilizers and mycorrhizae that we are supplying. And then in the end, we will talk about the upcoming presentations. So Pius, take it away.
Thank you, Jota. Thank you very much, and good morning to you, all of you. It's afternoon here. Before we start, you can, if you have questions, you can ask your questions in Icelandic, of course, on the chat page. You will find the chat page. I will ask Jota to switch off everybody's microphone. Because that's very disturbing if microphones switch on, like the one of RTO is now on.
Okay, I will mute all Pius and then you will open yours. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Am I still good now?
I hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. Today we will talk about tree planting, and I discussed this with Jota. We have been selling and producing mycorrhizal products and soil bacteria for a long time, for over 20 years. But we still see failures in tree planting because the mycorrhizal products and the fungi and the bacteria, they're not miracle products, because if you plant a tree too deep, it will have a lack of oxygen and it will die. Nothing can help that. So I want to go into the practice of tree planting, where if you do it right, if you do that the right way, the mycorrhizal fungi and the bacteria that we will discuss are very beneficial to that. They're not miracle products. They help you if you do your work in a proper way. And it starts with growing, and the planting comes later, from field to street. That goes quick. We want strong trees. I show you a very old picture that I took in Syria, even before there was war. In this mountain, there were trees growing, and this is in solid rock. So that's a very strong tree. Mm-hmm. And there are opposite interests. Tree growers, and you can, do you see the arrow on my screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Tree growers, they want to grow trees to grow fast. Look at the shoot length of this year's growth. It's huge. If you put enough fertilizers and enough nitrogen to the plant, it will grow. It will need a stick because it is growing so fast that it's not strong. And that's a disadvantage. And the herbicides, all of the competition is taken out. So actually, this tree is going very fast, but it's a very weak tree. But what you want in urban areas is a very strong tree. And that's the opposite interest of growers versus customers. The grower wants to get rid of his plants as soon as possible, and the owners, they will need strong trees that can grow old. And let's start with the treatment of the trees. If you, even in the summer, if you dig up trees and you leave them in the sun, what do you expect? If you grow trees and you purchase them and you put them on a trailer and you will expose the root ball to the wind and the sun, I made a small calculation. And all you want to see is if in 1 hour, and we have done these trials over and over again, in 1 hour in dry air, a root ball will dry in 2 centimeters. 2 centimeters in the volume means in the same root ball, 137 liters, it decreases to 164. It decreases with 27 liters of soil and fine roots in 1 hour time. So there is a need for protected covering. If your root ball dries in 2 centimeters in 1 hour due to uncovered transportation, that's failure cost. And this is a very good root ball on the tree, but yet it only consists 5% of the absorbing roots that the same tree had on the nursery. So be careful with the transportation. Don't jam with the trees, because the remaining roots, they will break into the root ball. Be very careful. With transportation, they are very brittle, these roots. And another thing, excuse me for this, another thing is many trees in these root balls, and I will go back, are planted too deep, because this is the height of the root ball, but maybe the first roots are here. So if you plant this size at this depth, you might be planting too deep. And that's what I want to show in this picture. If the roots start there and you plant here, then your planting is too deep and the tree will either die or will suffer for many, many, many years. And these are pictures from practice. Also, when I go back to this picture, hang on, I will go back. You can see this dark line here. Some people think this was planting depth at the nursery. No, no, no. It's the wet product, because these balls, they were in a sand to keep them from drying out, and this sand layer came to here. So this is the result of planting too deep, and the tree will die. You see? You see what happens here? This was the planting depth, and here the roots are totally dry. Here they are wet, but here they are totally dry. This tree should have been planted this depth. These roots occurred in the first year after planting. This is 3 years after planting. These roots were formed before that time, and these died off totally. Because no matter how much rainfall you have, hang on, sorry. No matter how much rainfall you have, the water will wash down these root balls, and the water won't reach the roots. Therefore, we are very much in favor of removing the root ball. Remove the entire burlap and the iron casking. Then the planting. Planting should be at the right depth. Let's make sure of that. but use short stakes. Short stakes from only 40 centimeters above ground and 80 or 90 in the ground, because the tree needs that support. And why would it need that support? So you plant at the correct height. Then you put in the stakes at a 5-degree angle to the outside. Then you make the first tie around the tree parallel on the stake. Make this parallel. Then you mount the second tie, and you really pull hard so this tree comes straight up together with that pole, and you nail it fast on the second pole, and then the tree tie is really tight. And then when the tree is positioned, you nail it, and the tree ties should be under tension. And after the maximum of 2 years, you remove everything. That is completely opposite to this is an example of how you should do. And why are we putting trees on long stakes that we do normally? And I've seen that on Iceland too, long stakes. It is a mistake, because the tree is a living organism, and the tree stake is a dead thing. How can I explain this? There's a lot of literature, and I published on this as well many, many times. If you use a long stake, the tree will produce energy with photosynthesis. And we're coming back to the planting. The tree is producing photosynthesis with the leaves. Now, that energy that is produced is used for everything. Here is the stem of that tree. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4 poles around it to keep the tree straight up. For the tree, this is just a long root, because it is not sacrificial. It doesn't have to do anything. It's like you leaning with your arms on the table, and you can lift one leg, and you can stand on one leg easily with the support of your hands on the table. But if you remove the table, you might have a balance problem. The same here. Function makes tissue. That's a natural law for everybody who breaks his legs and are in the casket. You will know, because the broken leg will shrink and the supporting leg will be stronger. So function makes tissue. That means that the stem here, it's just behind this one, the stem will not be able to develop itself. On the contrary, you will have very little roots, because why would you make roots if you are supported anyway? And you will make a bigger crown, because where else do you leave your energy? So you get a big crown, a weak stem and weak roots, and then after 5 years you remove the poles, and then the tree will fall over. Some people will say, you see, you need to support the tree much longer. No, we say you need to support the tree shorter with shorter stakes. Compare this to a meniscus operation on the knee. I remember as a child, and with hockey, I ruined my knee, my meniscus. And what happened? I went to the hospital for 2 weeks. I kept on hockeying, and like 20 years ago, I was operated on the other knee, and I had to leave the hospital the same day. Mobilize. Don't immobilize, because then you will have a problem. The same goes for trees. Make them able to move. So don't put your trees on a long stake. It will turn against you. If you look at trees in cities, and if you look at vandalism, you actually invite kids from 18 years old who want to prove themselves to the world. You actually invite them to break these trees because they are on long stakes and you can actually break it easily. Now, I want you to take in your mind a broomstick, a long broomstick. If you want to break that broomstick, you need to put your knee against it and break it on your knee. But if you take a branch or a stem, the same size as that broomstick from a young tree, and you break it, you want to break it, you need to take it short, under your arm and knack. You break it in a short moment. You offer with long poles, you offer 18-year-old kids a short moment. They only have to pull a little bit and the tree will break. And that is totally contrary to what you should do, short stakes. Another factor in this is wind movement. If you tie up a tree here, and you will have wind movement, then you will have this motion, and that means that the roots will move. The roots will move in the soil, and every time you have wind, the fine, young, brittle roots, they break off. That will not happen if you anchor the tree close to the ground, and you will have mechanical carrying on you will have mechanical loading on the stem. It will develop a lot more of roots, and you can see that on the root flare. We have done scientific research to that, and even within 3 years, you will have 20% more stem circumference than with trees on a long stake. So if you put trees on a long stake, you will make them suffer. You will avoid growth. And since you make very few roots and the roots are breaking off all the time, you need to keep watering the trees. That will take a lot of money and time. So make it natural. Trees, whenever they start growing from a seed, the first thing they do is they make an anchor. You call it a taproot, but the taproot is not an absorbing root. It's there to anchor the seed to the ground. So make sure you do it this way. Plant at the right height. Don't make deep planting holes. Don't. Because they will fill with water and the trees will drown. Make a planting hole with a foundation where the root ball can be supported so it will not go down, it will not sink. If you move the soil, the plant will sink. And in clay soils, a lot more than in sandy soils. So, I don't know what happened now, sorry for that. This is nice. And if you now fill this with your soil, make a refill with the outcoming soil, and mix that with mycorrhizae and bacteria, you will do a great job. Now you will have, I don't know why these slides came in with German. Anyway, these are the roots of this young pine tree. And this is the mycorrhizal mycelium that really absorbs the water and minerals. Roots from trees don't go deep. Forget it. The supporting roots are always on the surface. And you will not have development under the stem because the weight of the stem is so high that any root will die anyway under there due to pressure. So for I hope this is enough explanation for the planting depth and the way you plant. Let's go to the single absorbing roots. It's the leaves that produce the roots. It's the photosynthesis that produces the roots, not the fertilizer, not the soil. And you can see here, this is a seedling with 2 lobes, and all it does is make one little taproot. One little taproot that anchors the plant. The more leaves, the more lateral roots. And the lateral roots are the absorbing roots. This little taproot does not absorb anything. It's not there for absorption. Look here, it's for anchoring. And here, the only first lateral roots, the fine roots that come out of the taproot, they can absorb. And you can imagine if this tree, this is a maple tree, if it grows bigger and bigger and bigger, the weight on the soil, the pressure on the soil will become harder and harder, and therefore you will never have roots underneath the tree. And look at every wind-blown tree, wherever, there's no roots under the stem, impossible. So let's go back to the fine roots. Let's go back to the roots that actually do the work in the tree. If you look at this picture, this is the absorption capacity of roots. It's a very small area. It's only limited to 2 millimeters outside the root. And the blue zone, these are the exudates. This is the sugar that is shedded by the plant. 30% of the total amount of sugar produced in the leaves is given to the soil. Why would a plant do that? Why would it give 30% of all of the sugars to the soil? Well, they feed the soil organisms. The sugars are consumed by the organisms in the soil, the bacteria and the fungi. And these fungi and bacteria, they help the plant in absorbing minerals. So they're paying a little bit to get a lot. But outside, sorry for this, outside the blue zone, absorption will not take place. Farmers know that. Farmers know that because if the phosphate is outside the absorption zone, it will be tied to the soil and it will not be available for the plants. And phosphate is tied to iron, aluminum, or calcium within 2 hours in the soil. Within 2 hours, and then it becomes unavailable. That is the reason why farmers always put phosphate in the soil at seeding, because only this phosphate will be absorbed. And that's, if you look at the amount of phosphates that we use in agriculture, in landscaping, that's a sign that we don't understand the roots. So how does it work? Well, first you have the roots. And the roots, they will form, they grow in the soil, and the tree is paying for it. The tree is paying energy to make that root grow. And then the mycorrhizae come in, and the mycorrhizal fungi, they will connect with the root. And they connect and they make a huge fine network of mycorrhizal fungi and hyphae that actually absorb water and minerals for the plant. And they get sugars from the plant and they deliver water and minerals to the plant. And now, due to this network, minerals and water are available. And that's why we successfully plant trees in Saudi Arabia. That's why we successfully plant trees in deserts worldwide. And in replanting programs, we use the mycorrhizal fungi to help the plants to establish faster and better. Because the absorption capacity increases dramatically. And your transplant survival, if you plant at the right depth, which is so incredibly important, And then you will have your optimal use of minerals and organic matter. Better growth and more resilient trees for decades with no phosphorus problems. And roots, plants, trees depend on their symbionts in the soil, bacteria and fungi. We have been looking at plants this way, and we really have to stop that. We really have to stop that because this is normal. Vital and strong biology provides long-lasting benefits for the plant. Nematodes will not be able to attack the plant if they are protected with these mycorrhizal fungi. And for those who are interested in it, this is a 100-time enlargement of a root of 0.2 millimeters, because these are the roots that actually do the work for the trees. And this is 100 times enlarged, 0.2 millimeters. And here you see all the hyphae and the absorption capacity of that root, which is not only beautiful, it's essential. And if you look at the mycorrhizal fungi, they really enmesh the minerals and the organic matter. And look at the hyphae, they grow into the minerals, the hyphae, they grow into the organic matter. And they really form a network in the soil that holds the soil together. It transports the nutrients to the roots, and from there into the tree. And this is a graphical expression where you can see that the fine hyphae, they go actually in the rock. If you would Google rock-eating fungi, you will come to this. Rock-eating fungi, you will come to this. So in practice, yes, mycorrhizae, they work in the nursery. And our company is growing significantly every year. Why? We have so many publications. We have so much good press. Yes, mycorrhizae and bacteria adding to the soil with organic fertilizers, they really do the job. And if you go on our website, phc.eu, and you look at the English version, you see all the examples of nurseries with very successful actions. And for landscapers, sorbus, same-day planting, April 2019, 1 year after planting, with and without adding the mycorrhizae at planting. That's different. A landscaper will say, there's nothing wrong with this tree. If you don't have the reference of this one, there's nothing wrong. You can say, well, yeah, well, it was planted last year. It needs time to recover. Well, the same tree in 1 year with mycorrhizae performs a lot better, is a lot less susceptible to drought, to diseases, etc. And this is in front of our office. You see here, PHC, this is our office, number 7. We moved in 2014 here, and we immediately started treating these trees on this side of the street. This is the street where the offices are. And if you find our address and you go to Google Maps and you zoom in, you can actually see the difference in colors of the trees here. This is, I don't know why this happens all the time. But this is a year later. And these are deeper in the street. Oh, I'm sorry for this. Deeper in the street, the same trees, treated and non-treated. Same conditions, same street. That's why I'm so convinced of the successes that we have with this, that I want to share it with you. And You need products for a high quality survival. We have a product, it's called Verti Mulch. You can actually drill it in the soil. We use it for existing trees. You drill many holes, existing trees in landscapes, in parks that don't grow well enough. Maybe because of root damage, maybe for any other reason. That's the Verti Mulch product. You can inject, soil inject. This is for professional landscapers, golf courses, etc. Everybody who has a sprayer can do this. You soil inject with a probe, and you soil inject mycorrhizae and bacteria in the root zone. Then at planting, we have this product, small sachets. It's called Tree Saver Transplant. You mix it with the soil, and the soil that comes exactly close to the roots. We have for younger plants, for the 1-year-old ones, but also for shrubs and for perennial plants, but some people even use it for annual plants. We have these small sachets, this size, and you put them on the bottom of the planting hole, and these sachets, they look like this after 2 months. They're completely consumed. The roots grow directly in these sachets. The sachets are dissolved, and the plant will have its mycorrhizal colonization plus the bacteria. It's really beneficial. It's been working for this like 15 years. It's a very successful product. Then for the bare root planting, for naked roots, we advise microdip. You actually dip the roots in a mixture of bacteria and fungi. And for hedge plantings, etc., and for shrubs, it really works. But also for young trees, forestry trees that are planted naked, bare-rooted, 2-year-old, 3-year-old seedlings, dip them in the microdip, and you will actually see the difference. Thank you very much for your attention there. And if you have questions, Jorte will translate them for me, and I will try to answer you. Thank you.
Thank you, Pius. Very interesting presentation as always. Lot of new things. So, ef það einhverjar spurningar þá getið þið sett það annarkvort tekið af, gert mikrofónin virkan hjá okkur og spurt á íslensku eða ensku eða setta í chatið hjá Zoom. So maybe while we wait for some questions, one question for you. In the nurseries, there are some more products also that we can use there, OPF and such a thing.
Yeah, OPF, the fertilizer, of course.
Yeah.
But we deliver only plant-based fertilizers because plant-based fertilizers contain the amino acids in the right balance. Mm-hmm. And there are many amino acid products that provide important for protein building in the plant, but they're not always balanced in such a way that plants will actually benefit from it. Mm-hmm. A plant cannot work properly with the balance of amino acids in like fish bone meal, etc., mm-hmm. or blood meal, or whatever fertilizers are on the market. Mm-hmm. Plants like plant-based fertilizers the best.
Yeah.
And of course, we have the biology in the form of biofin or terrapils.
Yeah. Yeah, our clients are very good.
I see all the people in the screen. I see them all muted.
Yeah.
Money is not muted, but other people are. I don't know if they did that themselves or not.
I can all unmute. Okay. Not a lot of questions this time. like I say, we have been having our clients have had very good success with OKF so far. So now we will use more mycorrhizae, introduce that to them. This is something new here. Yeah.
Are there no questions because it's clear, or was it too much information?
That is a good question.
Maybe somebody is able to react on this, because I want to learn as well.
Þá spyrjum við fundagesti, hvernig lærðu þið eitthvað í dag? Did you learn something today? Það hægt að sjá þetta seinna, já. Very good info. So people are happy, and this is being recorded, so we can share this. Interesting in the last minutes, says one. Yes, so people like this.
Thank you.
Very clear. So maybe we should, since we are a little bit out of time, look at our next presentations that we will give and see where we can, where people can get some more information in the next slides.
Oh, okay. I just
so, yeah.
The next slide is upcoming webinars.
Yeah. Agriculture, what will you talk about next in 2 weeks' time? And carbon binding, that will be in the new year, 5th of January.
And folio feeding.
Folio feeding, your favorite, I think.
One of them.
One of them. And the next one will be folio feeding in 19th of January. Trends in environmental legislation. You know a lot about this, so. And the next one, and maybe something more, Piers. This is our Facebook page. You can see, for example, our YouTube channel, and we share all the recordings from this webinars there. And then we will continue and look at our home pages at the end. Það hægt að kaupa þetta á Íslandi. Það er spurt, is it possible to buy this in Iceland? The answer is yes. We are working on this together. Verti is the Icelandic company with plant health cure with fees in the Netherlands. So absolutely, you can buy it here. Next page, please, Piers. Our website for more information. And finally, the homepage of Plant Health Cure.
Don't forget to push the English flag or the German. But
a lot of good information there on all of those sites. So thank you for today. It has been very informative and interesting as always. And we see you all in 2 weeks' time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, all of you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
I
have to leave for the next meeting. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.